the 4x4, where, again, Gordon, I have them as a 99% chance to medal in the 4x4. I've thought about this relay a lot. Thought about who they're going to put on it, who they're going to leave off. And I really think we're just going to have to wait. We're going to have to wait for the open 4. And luckily we do. They do get that open. They don't need to make the decision now. But here's the deal. We just talked about.
Let's assume.
Hold on. We just talked about how medalable, which is a word I just made up, how medable it is for the U.S. women in the 400. So it'd be tough to leave off any woman who gets a medal in the 400 when it comes time for the relay. Now, it's also going to be tough to leave off Muhammad McLaughlin, who ran in 2019, and Athing Mo, who's put out a crazy fast time and who's probably going to do well in the 800, we can assume. Something's got to give here. And it's not going to be the difference between gold and silver. They're going to win regardless. They're going to win going away. But it will be interesting to see how this decision is made.
Okay, let's do this. Let's map it out. Let's assume Athing Mo wins the 800.
Mm-hmm.
Let's assume Sydney and Delilah go 1-2 in the 400 hurdles.
Mm-hmm.
And let's assume Allison and Cornera go 2-3 in the 400. They both lose to Shaunae Miller-Weibo. And they run 49 seconds when they go 2-3.
Mm-hmm.
And let's assume fourth place was Waylon Jonathas. And she runs like 50 flat and gets fourth. So you have 2, 3, 4 in the 400, 1, 2 in the 400 hurdles, and 1 in the 800. So they all ran really well. What's your team?
If I'm the relay coach and that situation happens and I'm in charge of doing this, I tender my resignation and get on a flight and go back home. It would be tough. Okay, wait. In this scenario, Hayes finishes ahead of Felix?
Yes. Well, that'll make it more complicated.
That makes sense. Okay. Because if Felix goes in front of Hayes, then it would be Mo, Felix, McLaughlin, Muhammad. But in essence, she'd be blocked. So then if you were going to put Felix on, you'd have to drop one of those other 3. Am I predicting what I think is going to happen, or am I predicting who I would put on there?
Both. Let's do who you would put on there, and then what you think will happen.
I would put. You'd have to put Quinera Hayes on there, and then if you're saying they went one, if McLaughlin and Muhammad want to run, and they just went, and you're in this scenario, they ran really well in the 400 hurdles. What you're saying?
Sydney broke the world record. Delilah got a new PB.
Yeah. Well. And then Athing Mo runs. The only debate there. You're making this really hard. So again, I will resign. I get the only argument. No, there would be no argument. You'd have to put Athing Mo on there. So it would be Mo, McLaughlin, Muhammad, and Hayes. Now, what would they do?
Oh, they're putting Allison Felix on it. Yeah.
That seems to be the consensus. So to avoid that becoming a messy situation, she'd have to finish ahead of Hayes, or one of those other 3 women would have to show some sort of vulnerability. I guess here's the thing that's tricky about it though, and people pointed this out before, the 400 final is the day before the 4x4 too. So it's not as if you can make the argument of, oh, she'll have fresher legs, versus if the 800 was day 8 and the 4x4 was day 9, you could make an argument, and a lot of people would call BS on it, but you can make an argument and say, hey, she's had a long season. She just won gold in the 800. We want to go with the sure thing here. And Felix is solid. But the 800 finals on day 5. So this thing is set up right now to just become the most complicated, controversial process. That's how it's set up, between who's involved and where the races are and how good everybody is. That's the setup.
All right. So let's assume they want to take 2 people who run the open 4 Allison and Quinera or Allison and Wadeland.
Yeah.
Who is the odd woman out among the three of Delilah, Sydney, and Athing?
I think it would be Athing just because she wasn't on the 2019 team. And I know that's a silly
Isn't
way
that
to
bullshit? That's so
that's a
silly.
silly way.
That makes no
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, because and she has the fastest time of the year with a 49 too. But I think that's and it's just putting an 800 person on it. Now calling her an 800 person, I know is completely limiting her her ability, but I think that's just like different than putting 400-meter hurdlers on it. I think it's just perceived as different.
But
I don't. Let me just say.
do you think
I don't agree with
the relays
this.
coach didn't watch the season and saw that Thing is like better than everyone?
I know.
And that she would have won. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not saying I agree with this before people get on me in the chat about it. I'm just saying that that would be what I think the conventional wisdom falls back to because you don't want it. You're not going to take Muhammad or McLaughlin off if they want to run.
I think you take Muhammad off.
But in your
I think that's who
scenario,
the
if she runs a PB,
odd woman should be out.
If Muhammad runs in your scenario, if she runs 51.98 in the 400 hurdles and loses, that's hard to take her off too because in 2019,
well, I'll
Sydney
be
was
like,
runner-up.
hey, Dilla, what do you do in the flat 400? You know, Athing Mo's running 49.2. Are you doing that? No, you're running 51 seconds with hurdles. It's different.
Yeah, all this could be avoided. All this could be avoided if one of your ideas, the only idea that you've had that's good over the last couple months, came to fruition and there was actually a tryout.
Yeah.
Last week, they all ran together. They ran. Everybody was interested. Who was in the pool? Ran the
Shamir
400.
got to go back and try to.
And you got to see who was where. And then that way, because in essence, you sometimes get penalized for then putting yourself out there and running a quarter. Because if it's not that good, then they say, well, we know who you are and you're not that fast. Versus other people who don't run quarters throughout the year and then get added. Again, I think the best team is going to be, if the scenario you say unfolds, would be whoever finishes first in the open 4 plus the 3 non 400-meter runners.
Yeah.
But does anybody disagree with that? Is there any argument against that? I think most people think that that's like that would be the group if you were forced to pick a team and your life was on the line. So
I just hope they don't do a thing dirty and be like, hey, Athing, you can be in the prelim of the 4x4, then you still get the medal. And it's just like, no, just because she's young, don't screw over like that. She's better than everyone.
Here's the problem with that. Can you see the obvious way in which that backfires? She goes in the prelim. Okay, they go and they say, hey, just cruise through this prelim. Don't worry about it.
And she runs like 48.9.
Exactly. She's smart. She knows what's what. And she dares them to take her off the team when she splits a 48.9. That's how that backfires.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what she would do.
Mess around and find out, basically. Yeah.
That happened to me in high school. I was not supposed to be on a 4x8 because of a political thing. I was whatever. And so the coach said, because I was a senior, and he's like, all right, coach. The coach said, we will let you run the prelim instead. Mm-hmm. And so I ran the prelim, and I ran faster than everyone else. And the person that was supposed to replace me for the final then just got, nope, Gordon, you're running the final now. So I was able to so that happens, right? People can prove themselves in the prelim and it's like, all right, well, we're not going to take off the fastest leg for the final. That makes no sense. So that's what she could do. Yeah. She probably will run the prelim, right? Because she'll be fresh. They'll probably use her in the prelim.
Well, and here's another way you could get around this. Women's 400-meter hurdle finals is day 6 in the morning, right? The next day is round 1 of the 4x4 in the evening, and you could put her and Muhammad out there and run off for it. I know that's really hard to do because you have different legs and different splits, but you could at least try to get a comparison of the two.
Yeah.
That's one thing. That's one thing that you could try. People in the chat are talking about you got to put Felix on there because of her experience. I would get that argument if it was a 4x1, but it's a 4x4.
What
Anybody can get
experience
the
do you
stick.
need?
Yeah, you can get the stick around. But then again, but here's the other part of it. Again, I don't think this thing is going to be decided by 0.2 of a second or
Yeah.
0.3 of a second. I think the U.S. is going to be solid regardless. So I don't think it's going to end up mattering who you pick in terms of who gets gold. They're going to get gold. They'll be fine unless they just pick a completely random off the board top 4 that we're not even mentioning. So it'll matter to track people, because if Athing Mo isn't on it and she's ran a 49.2 and then runs in the prelim and runs something crazy, then you'd say, okay, you got to put her on. I would love to be a fly on the wall for the discussions.
I'm just hoping that Thingmo gets in and she does well. And therefore, we can start this transition of more and more 800-meter runners being in 4x4s at international events. Because I think that, like, if Kenya wanted to, Kenya could put together a really good 4x4 with, like, their 800-meter guys, right? Korir and Saruni can split 43 seconds. So, like, and, we look at Donovan Brazier. He could probably run a fast 400 if he wanted to. I think we could start this conversation of, like, hey, 800-meter runners can be on 4x4s. We already say 400-meter hurlers can be on 4x4s. I think we need to start saying 800-meter runners can be on 4x4s. And the thing is that one who starts that conversation.
So here's the other issue too with the way the schedule is, because these schedules are not standardized and it's a mess every year to figure out. You can't really put any woman who's making that 400-meter final is not going to want to run the 4x4 heats because it's the day before. So you could have, say, all 3 U.S. women make the final. None of them are going to be in that 4x4 prelim. Now, they took 8 people, so they have plenty of people to use, plus the 2 400-meter hurdles, plus Athing Mo. So they have literally way too many people for the available spots. But I'm saying if you were trying just to get more data on who you should pick, or you're trying to basically make the process as fair as possible, which in this case that's basically impossible to do, then it'll be tough. The only person you can add to that would be someone who went out in the semis. But if someone goes out in the semis, they don't really have an argument for being on that 4x4 team in the final.
Yeah.
Rest of the top 10.
Interesting.
Rest of the top 10, you got Jamaica, Great Britain, Poland, Bahamas, Canada, Netherlands, France, Germany, Ukraine. Mixed 4x4, which we're not going to talk about here. We're going to move on to the distance. But the mixed 4x4, US, Jamaica, Netherlands, Dominican Republic, Poland, Great Britain, Belgium, Nigeria, Ireland, Spain. I would like to watch a 30 for 30 on how you put together those rankings, because the mixed gender 4x4. Man.
Hey, they're going to be right. That's why I'm put my house on my mixed gender 4x4 rankings.
I mean, people are talking in the chat about what are your thoughts on the mixed relay. I think the US will be fine, but I don't really. I mean, they're going to run. I think they'll run 2 separate. They're going to give as many people reps as possible. So they'll.
You know who's definitely going to be on one? Who's definitely going to be on one of them? Allison Felix, because they need to.
Oh, I don't think so.
Boost her medal numbers.
I don't think she's going to want to run put a 400 in her legs before, even if it's the week before.
Nah, she's going to run it.
I don't think she'll run it. Women's
They'll
day
put her in
5.
The prelim.
No, I don't think she'll do it.
You don't think she'll do it? I think she will. No. You get to add to your number to say that you're better than Bolt. That's what the whole purpose of this whole meet is, to say she's better than Bolt, which is not true. But that's the whole purpose of the meet.
You'd have 3. Stop. You just got done saying you were wrong about Allison Felix, and you're digging the hole again. She have 3 days off. I just don't get, if you're going to run in why not do another tune-up 400 then? Right? You have all this preparation to get yourself ready to go. It seems like a bit of a waste.
She's going to run the mixed 4x4, and then there's going to be that graphic of her on top of the mountain with Bolt being like, ah, and Allison Felix with, like, mom power being like, I am better than you. That's what's going to happen.
Here's the problem.
I'm visualizing the NBC graphic now.
The mixed 4x4 screwed up the entire schedule because they tried to keep those 2 days clean for 400-meter runners, which makes this ridiculous backlog towards the back of the event. And you have a situation like the 400-meter runners running in the final on one day, and then the 4x4 final the next day, and the 4x4 heats overlapping, and then the situation like Miller Weibo where the 400 and the 200 are overlapping. So I'm not a fan of the event. I've never been a fan of the event, and I'm still not, especially when it wreaks havoc on the rest of the schedule. Even though they still probably should be able to, they should still probably be able to make a schedule that works even with that relay, but you're just adding events so the U.S. can win at this point. So
Carl Lewis called it a clown event.
There you go.
When they first made
it.
There
you go.
It's a clown event.
All right, let's keep rolling here.
800. Do we still have Travis? We might have lost Travis.
No, we lost Travis. He had to go. We got Alon, though. We got Alon. Here we go.
Okay, we got Alon.
800. 800. So we're going back. We're going to go 8, 15,